gentlemen.
Yeah.
um, I'm gonna go ahead and throw this topic out because I know it's gonna spark a lot of conversation. Because Dr. Levin, you alluded to it, but DJ, you also dropped a little hint to it as the defining your intention versus sharing. Because we did talk about it in a previous episode about how people are kind of afraid to network, and I think it's also powerful to define the differences between networking and just simply sharing, because you can go into a room, we can talk about it too. You can go into a room with your homeboys and just money talk, future talk, saying, oh, I want to do this, this, and this, and although they may be your homeboys, nobody has an encouraging word. They don't, they could be, just dull to the idea where they just like, oh, okay, that's what's up. But you can also go into a room where there are people that can connect certain dots for you, and you're afraid to share it in that space. But that's the space you should share it in. Versus
right.
on the other flip side is you can go share it in a space with people that you're comfortable with, like Dr. Levin alluded to. You share it with your family and your very close friends, and they talk it down because they can't fathom certain ideas. And we talked about this before, where you say things to certain people, and because that's not their background, their upbringing, their culture, things, other variables and effects, they can't fathom it, so they talk it down because they're like, oh no, you can't never do that. There's also a man, like my daddy told me, and we're being real with it because it's the after show. My daddy said, I think it was W.C. Fields said, there's a sucker born every day. And he would follow it up and say, somebody decided to sell cow shit in a bag and call it manure fertilizer. Now you right. Like, and that in itself, I know for a fact that man, whoever did it, had to have told somebody like, man, I'm going to start bagging up this shit and selling it because the grass is growing amazing. And they was like, man. Dude, you crazy. You think people going to buy cow shit? And we all know you go to your local Home Depot, Ace Hardware, True Value, Do It Best Anywhere, get a bag of cow manure for fertilizer.
Right. That's true.
But somebody had to shoot that idea down. Whoever started Uber, I'm pretty sure if they shared the idea, right. Like, I'm going to let people ride other people around in their cars through an app in their phone. What?
It's like, oh man, you crazy.
What?
Well, so it goes into
the debit card. Let people swipe plastic.
Yeah.
Right. But it goes into this whole concept, like if you for those of you, I'll step outside of AJ's father for a moment. If anyone has ever seen a Bronx Tale, so Sonny and C, he said, the working man's a sucker. And, C's father said, no, the working man's not a sucker. You want to be a working man. You want to get up every day. You want to earn a living. There's a lot embedded in that conversation. On the surface, it sounds like a major insult. But what this gentleman is talking about is concepts. He's talking about concepts of money. He's talking about concepts of understanding that surpass what you would get if you just wake up every day, go to work, listen to what's being told to you, and go home. What he is saying is, if you understand how much you're being paid, have you ever stopped to ask the question, how much could you be paid? Most people wouldn't do that because what we've been told is, put your head down, you got a good job, you need to be quiet, keep that good job. In this story, even during those times, what was being taught to this young man was, hey, I may not earn the same type of living that your father earns, but my level of understanding about earning a living surpasses that in which he has. And I think sometimes we need to understand that there's information that we can benefit from sources that we don't necessarily want to tap into. But it doesn't mean that they're not beneficial. So case in point being, this gentleman was opening the eyes of ownership. Like, hey, you can own things and you can earn in excess of XYZ. That was never going to be the case growing up in this house. So what you're saying, Arthur, around the in terms of, hey, if you grew up in the South and you were doing well and you wanted to get some additional income, basically you're saying you can sell shit. I want you to understand what you said. We can sell some shit. Well,
but do you intentionally believe in yourself?
Correct. I mean, and that is literally what is happening. We can sell some shit, but with just a little bit more foresight. When you when you change those terms and you say, well, we now have manure, that opens a different environment for you to say that now we are cross-functional, or we're able to gentrify our product, so to speak. And now we can do some different things with it, because I'm not marketing quote unquote shit. I'm marketing manure, which is able to stabilize, fertilize, and attribute to a growth process, which, in the South, most folks need. So that's a completely different thought process than someone would have just quote unquote hustling. That's what we have to get to. You have to have a business model as opposed to a hustle, right? So, I have a lot of friends, you being one of them, but see, you have business models. Anytime I've been approached by a friend of mine that says, I got a side hustle, you're wasting your time. Do you have a business or not? I don't want to hear about a side hustle. Either we have a business or not. And the reason why I say that is because you have to formally commit. If you're not going to formally commit, then you're going to allow yourself to give up on it. And that's the accountability that we lack. Formalize your business. If you got a side hustle, it needs to become your business. I don't want to hear about your side hustles in 2019. Oh man, I make a little bit from my side hustle. I need to know what you make from your business. Because at the end of the year in 2019, going into 2020, you know what you get? It's called a tax write-off. I don't need you with a side hustle. I need you with a legitimate business. And the reason being is because it allows you to enact and empower yourself in ways that you've never been empowered before. It may change your mindset or allow you to reach out to one of your other brothers or sisters and tell them, hey, look, you got to start a business. That idea you have, all that money that you're spending, all that marketing and promotion that you're doing, you could be writing that off. And a lot of folks are missing an opportunity for years, 2 or 3 years on end, because it takes time to start a business. It takes time to get legitimized. The entire process is you put yourself in a position of being able to write it off. And by doing so, you put yourself in a better financial situation to move forward. But a lot of people don't understand that. And a lot of people don't take advantage of that. So, I want our listeners to do that. And I want them to, seek the advice of a tax consultant or what have you, because it's important that you understand what's in front of you. Because if you don't, you're not really operating a business. You're just out here, you're talking a lot, you're advertising yourself a lot, but you're not engaging in business building activities. Business building activities is understanding and minding the business that pays you. Okay, so stay out of other folks' business for a while. Let's focus on ourselves. Let's move in silence a little bit and mind the business that pays us, which means get yourself together in terms of your incorporation, your LLC, your S Corp, whatever. But get yourself structured in such a way that you can engage in business building activities. And I think that's important. We need to mind the business that pays us, man.
Mind your own damn business. You know, if that literally that can be the intentional step number one to help you move in a very positive direction is to mind your own damn business. If it ain't paying you, I know we've all heard it, and this is the after show, so we can definitely say it. What other people eat don't make me shit.
And let me say this. I want to do this. I want to shout her out. Marquita Leonard from Bright Beginnings Credit Repair.
Oh, she is. Man.
That is one of the things that she says faithfully. Mind the business that pays you.
And she is intentionally doing amazing things. Like, we definitely have to have her on, because she.
Oh yeah, we got to get her on.
She opening offices across America, literally.
Miami. She's out in L.A. looking right now. That sister is doing great things. I try to refer as many people to her as I can. But one of the things that I really respect about her, we talked about this earlier. She's intentional.
Yeah, very.
If you are not serious about the business that pays you in terms of, hey, let me fix my credit, she will fire you as a client. Mm-hmm. And you know what? I admire that about her, because she doesn't waste her time. She understands the value. She understands that the time value of money. Her time is valuable because it produces money. And she also does this. A lot of people hold on to clients. When her clients are at a place where they're sustainable and self-sufficient, she releases them from her program. She doesn't ask them to continue to pay her. She releases them. And she tells them, hey, there's no need for you to continue to hang out with me in this program and pay me a fee. That's integrity. And that's also intentional, because that's called referrals. Because the way you treated me, I'm going to tell you or tell someone else about you. So, shout out to Marquita Leonard, Bright Beginnings Credit Repair. For those of you who are looking to repair your credit, please reach out to her. You can find her on Instagram at Bright Beginnings Credit Repair. That promotion was not paid for. It's strictly pub for someone who's doing the right thing by people trying to positively impact their community. So shout out to Marquita.
Like they say, off the scrimp. With Dr. Lovin, off the scrimp. But Dr. Lovin, as I pour another small glass of this Woodford,
you might make it through that bottle yet.
Hey, the way it's looking, I may have to make a run at some point this week before we record again. But
or Amazon Prime will deliver it tomorrow.
For real? Oh yeah, I do live. Yeah. New York does allow that. No, I prefer the personal interaction at my local Total Wine, because they do have free tasting.
Oh, you want to go see Champ? You want to go see Champ?
No. I go to a high class liquor store. I'm not going to the.
Champ is there. I don't care where you go.
Hey, look, no, the grocery it's almost like a grocery store. The Total Wine that I frequent is quite high dollar. It is in a shopping center. They have sommeliers on staff.
Oh.
So, yeah. They have tastings of the sorts, classes, and things of that nature. So that's where I frequent. And that was not paid for. That was just off the scrimp.
Off the scrimp.
But I do know where the local spot is when I need to find what I need to find on the quick.
The local spot closed. I just want to know. I want to sway this thing around AJ to Dr. Levin, because I want to know if he saw Champ today.
Yeah.
I just want to know if he saw Champ.
Hey, man. I don't know that I saw Champ today.
Nah, man, you need to lie to me like you saw him, man, because
hey, man, let me tell you,
he saw Champ's replacement, the backup Champ, Vice Champ.
Let me tell you,
Co-champ.
I am a martial artist, and I pride myself on being able to recognize a champ. You know what I mean? That's a large part of self-preservation, is just knowing where they are. And so I will let you know when I see them. I have not seen one today, but I have seen a couple this week, in various places. Yeah, a couple of
he said
that you just
know. I might not have saw this today, but I've seen them this week.
Oh yeah, well you see a person and he just buying graham crackers or something like that. And you're like, man, look at his knuckles. You ever just see somebody and look at their hands like look at this man knuckles and the area around his eyebrows. He is both
Hey,
taking
look.
punishment and dish punishment out. So you gotta pay attention. Yeah, I in terms of natural selection, man, the animals that don't pay attention, you got small eyes with very little peripheral vision. Those are the animals that end up getting taken out because they ain't looking around. They don't see what's going on around them.
I just want to remind people that Dr. Loving has a PhD in financial planning, but right now he is giving a hard lesson in Darwinism and survival of the fittest.
Hey, man, these are important gems to walk away with, man. There are animals out there that are like 75% eyeball and very little else. Why? Because they watch and see what the hell is going on. They get the hell out the way.
Hey.
You got a lot of people who could otherwise be alive, but they stay right where they not supposed to be because they ain't paying attention.
That you bringing up this point that I was about to throw to you, and I want you to allow me to throw you this alley-oop because we had talked about you or DJ. Go ahead and jump. You or DJ had mentioned in the show about how opportunity favors the prepared, and if you are not. That's the balance of minding your own damn business, but also being aware of what's going on. Because if you're not aware of the opportunity about to approach you, you may be caught off guard and not be prepared. So you brought up that you bringing up that point where it's like you got to know what's going on around you. You got to be 75% eyeball out here in these streets. You got to peep. You got to peep, like they say. You got to peep game. And you got to see it from afar and as far back as you can, Hawkeye with it. But go ahead.
Now, so I was looking at this Audre Lorde quote, and it's if you don't define yourself for yourself, then you will be crushed into others' fantasies of you and eaten alive. And I know you're laughing because you remember where that quote came from. It's after it's what Merch says to the stripper in The Best Man. That's right. It's a pure black reference right there.
Cultural reference, run it back. Go ahead.
For our non-black listeners.
Run it back.
No.
Full explanation.
The Best Man is a movie featuring Taye Diggs. Look that up and you'll hear
Morris Chestnut. Terrence Howard. Go ahead.
Yeah, there you go. It's
all the black heavy hitters besides Denzel.
First or second, please be clear.
Yes, this would be the first one, and he makes this proclamation to the stripper, and I think it's it's a real important thing. What you saying, man? This is the after show. I can say what I won't say, so that's what I'm doing. That's right. Okay, so my point is,
I'm gonna talk about belly after this, I guess. I mean, that's the only. We only got up to go.
We're just gonna keep going.
Go up from here.
Duly noted, we will intentionally increase cultural references from here on out.
No, I was joking. Just finish this one.
The fact is, like, everybody has their, not everybody, but there are people out there with their plans. And if you don't have yours, then you end up just being mixed up in somebody else's plan. And I think a lot of folks, whether our listeners, a lot of folks that will turn you on to listen to a show like this, is because you feel that way. You're like, man, I'm going to work every day, and I see other people getting promoted. I see other people getting opportunities. I see other people starting their own businesses, and I feel like there's a part of me that if I'm not careful, it's going to turn into a hater. And I understand that, right? And you're like, because I see myself being faithful to doing the regular things and not being rewarded for it. And so when we're talking about these big goals and we're talking about conceptualizing things for yourself and making a way for yourself, that's to break you out of your own sort of conceptions about where your life is going to be, and especially make you start to define things for yourself so you can say, this is where, in my own mind, this is where I want to be. Man, you could be at Red Lobster and your whole job is taking the live lobster out the tank and giving it to the dude to murder in the boiler boiling water, and that could be all you do. But that don't
Right.
have to be all you want, right? That can be all you do till you start to use that money from Red Lobster, and you're putting $50 a month into a mutual fund and saving. Next thing you know, you start your own little company off on the side where you selling your own lobsters to rest.
Talk that future
But that's
talk.
where
Talk that future
that's
talk.
why
Being
Like,
intentional.
that's why I stop. That's why I stop you though, because see, that's the problem that we have, right? In terms of being intentional, that's the difference between beginning with the end in mind and just having some type of intentionality. Like, hey, I want this to happen. That's a shrug of the shoulders.
Flip it. You
right.
said
So when you truly begin
intentionally and intentionality.
Yeah, when you truly begin with the end in mind, when you are living intentionally,
Being deliberate.
you have a plan. You're being deliberate. So getting to the point where you can boil the lobster, that's table stakes. Now you're trying to figure out how you own the building that is occurring in. So that is the difference. That is the core difference, right? It is properly setting the goal, right? So it's not enough. I talked about the Olympic team earlier, and I'll be more concrete about what the gentleman told me. He said, senior leader. He was a Olympian. He said, Destrian, here was the deal, man. He said, I'm an Olympian, and I said I made the Olympic team. So my new goal the following year, I wanted to make the Olympic team. So I made it. He said, once I made the Olympic team, I was excited. I was happy. But then I had to train for the Olympics. So guess what I did? I set the wrong goal. Once I made the team, I stopped short of having anything to work for. So now he's made the team and he has to go compete. But he's going to compete against people who have said from the very beginning,
I'm getting
my goal is to win the Olympics. I'm getting the goal. Wrong goal. And
follow
we
through.
Sell ourselves short. Well, we sell ourselves short because we don't begin with the end in mind. The end is not making the damn team. No, you don't want to be on the damn team. Are you going to own the team? What else are you going to do besides just being a participant in the team? That's where we set our sights short, because what he told me was, Wells, I came back a few years later, the Olympics only happen every so many years. Yeah. So he came back and he said, I had to set a new goal, and it hurt for a long time. He said, but imagine being pissed off, understanding and realizing that the only reason why you didn't accomplish what somebody else accomplished was because you set the wrong goal. Not because they were more talented, not because they wanted it more, but because you got basically fat and happy well before they did. So being intentional and deliberate requires you to take a look at the landscape and then set the proper goal, because that is important, man. I wanted to do a lot of cussing right there, but I didn't. It is important.
That's all well and good, because what you just really laid out, because you elaborated on the story from the show, is intentionally was beginning with the end in mind, where the gentleman said, I want to make the team. That was the end.
Mm-hmm.
And that goal was attainable. You attained the goal. But what didn't happen was, a full evaluation of goal planning, where it's like,
correct.
That wasn't the end all be all, because now you've made this team. Is that all you want to do? Right. You got to evaluate that. You got to evaluate that. Like, okay, I've made this team. Now, what am I going to do? And you can't wait until you accomplish that goal.
Correct.
To finish the plan out.
Correct.
And don't think that your goals are too lofty. You know what I'm saying? I definitely want to make that point. Don't think that your goal, don't set the goal as only I want to make the team, because you can go tell somebody like I want to win a championship, and they might look at you crazy. But then you tell somebody I want to make the team, and it's more palatable to them. But for you, now you sold yourself short.
Right. And I'll say this to you. It doesn't even have to be the championship. That's only one aspect of it from an athletic standpoint. It could be I want to become a a civil engineer. I want to become a nuclear engineer. I want to earn X amount of dollars. I want to, be a mathematician. Whatever it is you want to do, when you set these goals, you cannot. And I used to say, I hate to say this, but I don't. I love to say what I'm about to say. You cannot allow people around you to determine what your goals look like. Period. You just can't. And the reason why you can't allow that to be is because there have been so many people in their ear telling them what they can't do. You can't allow that same thing to be your affliction. That's a disease that people suffer from, man. They suffer from somebody told me I can't do that. Do you know how many dreams and aspirations are buried simply because somebody else said you can't do that?
We talked about
that cannot be the thing that kills your dream.
We talked about them dreams deferred.
Yeah, man. Like, you want to be that raisin? That can't be you. The reason why is because every generation feeds the next. And when someone is talking to you, when you have gone after your dream and your aspirations wholeheartedly, and that might mean that you're successful in a number of ways, but maybe there's a little bit that you left on the table in a certain place, the advice that you can provide someone because you've had the experience. Just imagine what that would have, what these things would do for people right now. Someone with an experience that they could talk to, that could come in and exchange information with them. That would be invaluable to them, but they don't have that. You know why? Because somebody else told that person they can't do it, so they're not doing it. They're just waking up every day doing what somebody else said they should do. You cannot allow that to be you. Your life is filled up between the day you're born, that dash, and ultimately the day that it expires. You need to fill that up with all the things that you personally want to fill it up with, not what other folks want. Man, fill that thing up, man. Let people tell you, hey, man, that's crazy you want to go do that. But you know what? If something should happen to you, you've done the things that you wanted to do, the things that you set out to do. So many people live unfruitful lives because they get discouraged about the things that other people say. And these are the same people who were huge dreamers and visionaries in the decades before. But I'm going to tell you right now, man, the naysayers have it all. They kill more dreams than you'll ever imagine. Nah, you can't do that. Nah, you shouldn't do that. Man, to hell with that. If somebody's not telling you, hey, look, I don't know what you're waiting on to do that, get them the hell from around you. I want people around me that do exactly what y'all do. Well, you're not going to do it? You haven't done it yet? See, that's the type of person you want around you because they're going to push you to your limits. They're going to push your envelope. And I know we've talked about this before, but I'll say it again. If you are in a relationship, a situationship, whatever y'all want to call it, marriage, whatever, if the person you're with doesn't call your bluff on your time, talent, and efforts, you're in the wrong situation. They should be pushing your limits. And if they're not, God bless you. And in the South, when we say God bless you, that's not good.
like Doc said the other day, he said, like, when people say bless your heart. Yeah. But I want everybody to look up Equipment by Edgar Albert Guest. And I learned that only because it was one of George Washington Carver's favorite poems. And if you don't know who that man is, he was a great thinker and scientist of another time era that worked at the illustrious Tuskegee University. But look up that poem because it basically, you know, for me, it's a lot of personal uh, reflection and reminding of, you know, just how possible things are, especially when the power of intention. The point basically, paraphrase, tells you, you know, look at the greatest men, and they do things similar, and we have the same thing. We got 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 hands, 2 eyes, and a brain to use if you will be wise. And you know, you constantly have to remind yourself that kind of thing, just to put things in perspective, just to be real with yourself. Like you can do this, but if you're around the wrong kind of people, they will literally shut your shit down for you because you gonna doubt yourself.
Yep.
You gonna doubt yourself. We human. You gonna do that on your own. So why the hell would you need other people as an outside influence? Because you already probably thinking in your mind like, I really shouldn't, I really can't, I'm not ready, and whatever. So then you just need outside voices to echo that for you? Hell no. You need somebody. You need people around you that's gonna echo the small voice inside you that's telling you that you can. Because we all can be honest and know that a lot of times that voice that says you can't is a lot louder than the one that says you can.
Yep. That's
So
true.
you can be definitely real with yourself about, you know, when we talk about these power circles and strategic partnerships, we live and breathe it for real because we know we've all been in a place where we've had people that were not beneficial. So you got to be real with yourself and define and say like, look, all right, you out of, you gone. Some people you can keep at a distance. It's a wonderful feature on Facebook, and I don't think a lot of people know. You can unfollow people now, but not unfriend them. So if you really, you know, connected with people, say it's family that you don't really want to set these very hard, you know, boundaries where it's like, I don't want to ever talk to you again. Just, you can go and you go on your friends list, so you can unfollow. Now, what they post doesn't always pop up in your news feed. Because you know the people.
I'm a little bit different.
You probably go hard in and just block us.
I mean, I sent a message prior to, hey, just so you know, I'm gonna go ahead and let you go. Like I just go ahead and do that.
DJ out here formally firing people, and you know that's fine too.
Hey,
but
man.
you know, and
I mean, some people just with that foolishness, man.
Yeah, and we gotta let people know it's okay to set these different levels of boundaries with people. Some people you got to go in and completely fire them and write.
Listen, man,
some
if
people you can put them on probation.
If you are living a life of intentionality, if you're trying to be intentional, you know that certain people are not going to be conducive to that.
Oh, no, that's the point that I wanted to throw to Dr. Lovin, and I forgot about it. I got to do it now. I got to do it now. Because we talked about how opportunity favors the prepared. This is what we were talking about. It just popped to me. Thank you, DJ. I don't know what you say to trigger this thought, but it's coming. Mm-hmm. We talked about how opportunity favors the prepared, and you alluded to the fact that there are people perpetrating a certain image out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we can be honest and say that there are people that perpetrate an image intentionally, and in their minds that's enough to manifest what they got going on. Like if I just keep taking pictures of myself, you know, in these places, in these spaces, even though I'm not actually being invited into these spaces, then I'll end up here.
Right.
But then, you know, you're in that space and the opportunity arises to say, hey, let's invite you into this actual room now. You've been in the lobby perpetrating, posting pictures. Now let's invite you into this room, into this circle. And like DJ put it, you know, people aren't prepared. You get in there and you're not eloquent. You don't know how to speak in that room. But you can talk that Instagram talk. You can come up with a fire-ass caption. You throw the hottest song lyric as your caption, and then put a bunch of, you know, quote unquote deep thought right behind it, and say follow, like, share, subscribe, and that whatnot. But when the real opportunities come, are you prepared? Like you want to be on Instagram and you want to do skits and you want to be funny, but now the opportunity comes and somebody says, I need you to do stand up for 20 minutes. Can you do that? Are you prepared for that? You've taken all these pictures in conference rooms wearing nice suits and stuff, and now somebody looks at you and says, now step into my conference room and give a presentation. Are you well equipped to give a 30-minute presentation to a room full of executives and middle management?
Right.
Yeah, man. It's a sobering thing for people, man.
What is it, AJ?
What
is it? You say it's sobering?
it's a sobering thing because what happens is you have
They been who been drinking the Kool-Aid is the question.
it's sobering for everybody. It's
Everybody
sobering for
involved,
everybody,
especially the person especially the person that the person that referred your ass. Like
exactly.
that's where it really hits home at.
When I say it's sobering for everybody, I mean everybody comes back to reality.
That's that follow through with branding.
That's right. You become familiar with the fact that you have not actually cultivated the skills that you seem to be selling and putting out there about yourself. And so
you
now
saying that imposter syndrome is starting to set in?
No, because see, imposter syndrome implies you have the skills, but you feel unqualified for some reason, like I'm black or I'm a woman. So no, it's not the imposter syndrome. It's the fact that you is an imposter.
It's the fronting. It's the fronting syndrome.
It ain't no syndrome at all.
It's just fronting.
Your ass was out there lying, talking about you could do such a thing, and now they're like, now. Like you said you could speak Spanish, and so now they're asking you to
speak Spanish,
as you said,
and write the P and L in Spanish.
And you talking about donde es la biblioteca?
You all on Google Translate. You all on Google Translate.
Oh man.
Oh, so you're not fluent. You beginner. Right. Okay. You was fronting.
Now you've embarrassed yourself. And it's not that, hey, man, it's not that learning in Spanish was an impossible thing to do. It's the fact that you have said that you know something you don't know.
Correct.
Is it very possible for you to learn Spanish, especially in this day and age when they got Babbel and they got Rosetta Stone, where you can look at again on your phone and learn as you go and live your life? Yes, man, it's extraordinarily possible, right? It's also possible for you to write it down on your resume once you've acquired that skill. Yes, it's equally possible to write it down having not acquired that skill and just assuming they ain't gonna never have to do that, right? So, it's important for you, for all of the things that you need to do. If your dream job somehow involves speaking Spanish, then you need to be within your set of goals needs to be the acquisition of Spanish speaking skill over time.
Right.
You can't just, that needs to be a part of your overall process, right? That is a realistic assumption. And the great thing about it is, hey, it's something that you can see exactly how much it costs to do, how much time you're gonna have to spend doing it to learn how to do it, and over time you can start to see how you progress towards that goal. But there's a lot of people who are gonna front and say that they know something they don't know. You can't worry about those people. You have to do things that you need to do in order to get success. That's why I took the liberty of saying that we would give a gift for somebody who actually
who tells the truth.
You got to make and put stuff out there and actually start it towards it, because you need to make things tangible for people, and we need to make things tangible for people. We need more listeners. We need people to recognize that we are really trying, laying down some stuff that can be helpful here. So we need folks to evangelize a little bit. So, man, they need to be able to say, I got this from this spot, and this is a podcast you need to listen to.
Ooh, look at the intention just falling out from the
way that I think about it. You have to, you got to make it real for people in certain ways,
Y'all we got to make sure people ain't just out here living just enough for the city.
Right.
Right. A cultural reference for those of you who don't know is a song by the great Stevie Wonder.
Oh my!
Go ahead, DJ. Go ahead.
Oh my!
Hey, listen. At this point, we've all been sipping for.
No, I'm good, man. Like, I'm good. I have to make sure that I'm in good form in the event that you and the good doctor go astray.
Listen, that is the beauty and the power of accountability and having a power.
Exactly.
Where it's like
my job. That is my job here.
Everybody holds everybody.
everybody that knows me knows it's never been my job to be the one to be accountable for the beverages, but in this situation it is. Man. But when you talk about that, man, that goes back to so Jay-Z said, ain't no love in the heart of the city. But when you listen to what he said, he's talking about the fact that it's the very people around you. Like, if you really listen to it, it's the very people around you that are not going to allow you to put down roots where you are and grow. So where do you put down those roots? So when you're dealing with a situation where, you know, maybe there's cross-pollination, maybe you need to put your roots in your friend's backyard, and your friend needs to put his or her roots in your backyard, because when you can have that cross-pollination, that gives you an opportunity to grow. Because, you know, you listen to the comments from Dr. Loving, and it's not that he's painting a bleak picture. He's actually giving you the real. He's probably being a little bit more pleasant about what's actually going on in these communities than what's not. And so when you can come in and you can effectively bring an idea to fruition, you have to do that, and you have to do that by tapping into the resources that are not being touched by the I guess we would call them the cancers of the community, so to speak. So right now, for many communities, that's the women. If you are an African American person, Hispanic, person of color, what have you, I would implore you, lean into the women in your community with your best and brightest ideas, because they are well equipped and set up to have the types of resources from a corporate standpoint, from a socio-economic standpoint, from a political standpoint, however you want to cut the cloth. This is your best opportunity to lean in. If you don't do this, you are explicitly showing bias, and you're saying that you don't support women in the workplace and their advancement and their development.
I think what you're saying is very key to, you know, just to kind of reiterate and echo is to never, ever underestimate the power of women. And women don't underestimate the power that you have, because it's key. Yeah. And as the quicker that, you know, both parties can understand, accept, and acknowledge that fact, because it is a fact, you know, a lot of things can transpire in the positive direction. And that's on a personal level and on a professional level, is because, you know, I mean, and you know, from a very personal level all the way to a professional level, it's apparent, it's obvious as to why it's that way. And like you said, if you want to turn your back to that fact, then you're making very a huge obvious. You're making a huge mistake, and you're very obviously being biased.
Yeah, it's blatant. It's blatant, because at this point, women are making 81 cents on the dollar to what men make, right? And I think we all have a woman in our life, or know a woman that is equally as talented as any man doing any job. And look, I'm not here for shits and giggles, and I don't need new friends. I really don't care about new friends. But what I do care about is appropriation and the proper person being hired for the proper role, right? So I care about that immensely. And I think that we need to get to a place as men, all men, where we're saying that women should be hired at an equal rate, because whether we understand or know it or not, we're still in an underemployment environment. Like, I don't know I don't know what most people look out there and look at. The employment numbers are not horrible, but we're still in an underemployment environment. Like,
But you bring
people
up,
need to
but
go
you
to
bring up
work.
a point that I don't think people really look at, because when we talk about employment and things of that nature, everybody kind of, I think, looks at it from this very broad perspective, like, oh, you got a job, cool. But then if you really look at it from a space or in a perspective of, do you have the job that you want?
Exactly.
And then you can look at it from that point of view, and then you like, damn, it's a majority of everybody is unemployed because they ain't working the job that they want or that they're
No,
qualified for, or
no, no,
are you
no.
from any other level other than just,
Right.
are you employed? If you employed, then cool. So then, no, we ain't talking. We ain't talking to you. If you complacent
Yeah,
and
man.
you cool with just having a job, cool. But are you working
That
the job that
requires
you want? Are you working the
relationships.
job that you qualified for? If not, then you unemployed. So keep looking.
Right. Right. But see, that requires relationships, and a lot of people don't have those. Those relationships tell you where people are relative to their process and where they are relative to where they want to be. Right. So when I have a personal relationship with the author or with the Dr. Loving, and I say, hey, listen, man, I know you're working at XYZ place and it's holding you over, but I got a lead on XYZ. Man, you're taking that interview 100 times out of 100 because you know where you are. You're underemployed. Most people are underemployed. Like, you can say whatever you want. Most people are underemployed, especially in major cities. They take the job that they can get because it's better than not having an income at all. It's a smart thing to do. But if you look at their skill set or what have you, these people are dumbing themselves down from a resume perspective to fit certain criteria and roles. And we talk about being intentional, man, it's never more important or true than when you just need an income. Like, you cater yourself to the situation because ends have to meet. And if there's one thing that black and brown people, you know what? I won't even stop it there. All people in a certain social, economic, demographic understand what to do. You can make those ends meet because you know what it takes to get what you need. I don't know why we don't. I don't know why we don't magnify that on a higher scale, which is what we were talking about earlier. If you can make the ends meet, and you're willing to do that for a minimum level of income, why are you not willing to I would say participate in the game or in the process of getting more for your family? That question eludes me, and I do not have the answer to that because undoubtedly the same folks that grab these jobs understand that greater opportunity exists. Somehow we or them convince themselves that they're not worthy or qualified to obtain them. It's a huge opportunity cost in the communities that are leaving those opportunities on the table. Huge.
Most definitely. And Dr. Lovin, I wanted to throw it to you because I know the hour is getting late, and we all have our responsibilities, so we're gonna start wrapping it up. But we covered a lot of grounds that we definitely gonna have to revisit, and it's gonna be an underlying topic because definitely,
Oh yeah.
it's especially with intention, because intention, like we alluded to, it can go across a bunch of different terrains, if you will. You got to be intentional with the way you handle stuff. Just like rock climbing, you got to know which rock you finna grab and which rock you finna let go, or else you finna fall to your death. But that may be too extreme for some. But Dr. Lovin, I wanted to throw it to you.
Yeah, man, I agree with you completely, and I don't think that characterizing it as life and life or death is. I don't think that's extreme at all. I think it's an accurate depiction of what it is that we go through, depending on who we choose to allow in our lives and who we try to distance ourselves from, and how we try to do that. I mean, when I think about this, I don't want to go into a whole other thing, but this Nipsey Hussle situation, man, where this young man was, by all accounts, trying to make very positive moves in his community and really, trying to make the world a better place in all the ways that he could do so, based on what he thought was right in his relative position. And then by virtue of him trying to do those things and be present in the hood, he was at a place where he was giving out clothes to folks who recently been let out of prison. And nobody else had a firearm except one person who he had gotten into a disagreement about about whether or not he could come out there. And this one person that you somehow allowed to be within your circle took the life of this young man in such a heinous way. And it happened on film. And I think our nature is to try to make some sense out of things, even the most horribly ridiculous, senseless things. And so, like, well, there has to be some deeper reason besides this one individual having, this one horribly emotional reaction, and then acting on it in such a horrific way that everybody will feel reverberations of his actions for generations to come. He's altered the fabric of the universe as it pertains to all of the people who are around him, and it has changed things in a way that cannot be mended, at least in terms of as it pertains to his absence. And so the stakes of who you choose to be around you, especially as you try to soar to new heights, man, be careful about the weight that you carrying with you. Because some of these folks are dead weight, and dead weight in a way where if you even try to carry them to where it is that you're going, y'all both actually end up potentially physically dead. You see what I'm saying, man? So the stakes are high. So when I talk about defining yourself for yourself and setting these crystal clear goals and trying to automate, making sure that you're about your business, is because when you are focused on those things, and someone who is so askew as it relates to those things, that they just don't belong. Even though you're trying to help folks in the hood, you're going to be careful, or more careful, about who you allow in your circle and how, even when you're trying to do the nice things. And you can see that's arguably what he was trying to do, is distance himself from a person who had done too much in certain other types of ways. So I'm not saying everything saves you, but I am saying that it's important to recognize that the threats to you and your what it is that you want to accomplish and your life in general aren't necessarily from folks that are just going to come as strangers who don't know you, and somehow because of the fact that they don't know you, wish you harm. As much as it could be from those people, it can be from somebody who does know you intimately, who does understand everything about you, and because they understand everything about you and see deficiencies in themselves, they wish you ill and try to do you harm. So I just recognize as you are special in terms of the way that you treat yourself and the way that you treat that one thing that God has given to you to be steward over and be that great idea that's going to make your life and everybody else's lives better going forward, that you do have to be judicious about who you choose to spend time with and allow in your circle, because as you said, AJ, it can and often is a matter of life and death.
Yeah.
That's all. That also speaks to the power of jealousy. Like you said, people want to, they just can't fathom the idea of it being over something so simple as hate. And a lot of people may not have ever experienced the power of hate because, I grew up down south. DJ grew up down south. Dr. Lovin, you grew up in Chicago, and you can attest to the power of hate within that own city. And, unless you've experienced it before, you don't understand the power and the lengths that people will go to let you know how much they hate you. And it's just like the commercials for the medicines. The side effects always be like headache, mild, vomiting, da da da, and in very rare cases, death. And like you said, in very rare cases, death is the outcome of hatred and just disagreement and discourse, to where if both parties are on the same accord, all it takes is for one to end the deal, and they can end the deal however they want to. Some people can simply walk away. Some people can't simply walk away. If both parties can't simply walk away, then the side effects kick in, because everybody ain't on the same accord. Everybody ain't operating in the same, the same realm. But
no, you're right. you're absolutely right, man. And what I would say is that, as it relates to that, I mean, just from being a child, like you said, growing up in the rural South, even looking at this, it just feels different. It feels way different. Hate in this day and age is far different than I've ever known it growing up as a child. The fact that we hate ourselves more than anyone else hates us, present day, is amazing. It's amazing because you would think that for all the things that we have seen, especially growing up in the South, you would understand what it means to, be discriminated against, racism, etc., Jim Crow. But the fact of the matter is, everywhere in this country has not experienced that. And I think that's one of the key aspects that we have to understand. So when we get this mentality elsewhere, folks from the South look at this and go, I can't believe this is still happening. But for many folks, the racism portion never existed, especially when you start talking about certain areas of the country. This is a pure hate crime. Like, you boil it down.
Well, I don't want to put it and I don't want to put it in that sense of it never happened. It's just everybody experiences it at very different levels. Yeah. Like down south, that's fair. We can attest to being called niggas once or twice in your life.
Okay.
But you go other places and they've never heard, a white
the term,
person,
so to speak.
The term, so to speak. They've never encountered a white person saying the word nigga in their presence, let alone calling it to them, to their face.
Yeah.
But growing up down south, it, for some, it's a quite, often occurrence.
I mean, just to give you some context, I think we talked earlier in the podcast, maybe in episode 1 or 2, about H&M or what have you. But my neighbor growing up, my grandmother knocked on his front door and said, I'm just knocking on your front door here. I'm trying to understand if you did or did not call my grandson a monkey. And that is what he referred to me as for about a year or so. When I was about 8 years old, I would be outside playing in the yard, and he would come outside and say, monkey, go in the house. And my grandmother didn't take kindly to that. She did what she had to do. But those things, for me, they resonate with me because I saw people take a stand. Now, I can't account for folks who had a different experience, but there were things being said, and I saw everything happen. Like I said, I saw the good, the bad, and the ugly growing up in the early 90s or what have you in Selma, Alabama. But, man, when I think about today, and I think about race relations and what things should be, we're not even close. It's not even fucking close. Like, It's not close at all because we can't have an honest conversation about the things that actually go on, and we're left sugarcoating things, and it's a situation where you're hoping that someone who, for all intents and purposes, is not a black or brown person says the right thing so that the conversation can be had. You should be able to initiate the conversation and have the proper conversation. And if someone agrees, they agree. If they disagree, then you can move on. You can agree to disagree because they don't have to agree with you because their experience could be completely different. But I think the fact that in this day and age, we still feel like conversations can't be had because I honestly feel like race relations are probably no better than they were 15, 20 years ago across the country, specifically given the political environment. Like, we haven't advanced that much. That's a huge problem. And that alone spills back into the communities in which we live because as these things are drawn out and they're not getting addressed, they just circle back into the community because people tend to use the law of proximity as their compass. I'm going to do shit to the people that are closest to me, and I'm going to act out against the people that are closest to me. That's the law of proximity. Wherever I live, I'm going to act out there. That type of thing. Most people are not saying, let me drive 45 miles to commit a crime. They're saying I'm going to commit a crime right where I live. And when they're upset, they're frustrated or what have you, that happens against the people that they live right next to. And they're just preying on their own. And that's what's happening.
I ain't
got to say nothing.
No, no, my bad. I had myself on mute real quick. The princess is crying, so that is my cue to kind of wrap it up. But I like how you really alluded to the black on black crime myth, and we'll call it a myth because, like you said, things happen in proximity. Things happen in proximity. Like you said, you got to be duck milk crazy to be driving 45 miles to go commit a crime.
Yeah, man.
And that if you really hate, you'll do it. But convenience.
Because you're also going to jail.
Convenience trumps everything. Convenience trumps everything.
Yes.
In all realms, convenience trumps. It can be convenient for people to, to fake it till they make it. And when the opportunity comes, they're not prepared because they were faking it. You can take pictures, literally. No, because I saw a couple of weeks ago that there are companies now, these companies that own jets and jet owners, of course they're renting out their jets for charter, but they're also renting out their jets for photo shoots. And people paying $300-$400 an hour to just sit and take pictures in a jet. And the jet never leaves. The jet is not even crunk up. The jet has no pilot. It doesn't even have gas. It's just sitting there. And they're perpetrating the image, and and whatever the image may be, and now an opportunity comes because somebody's seen that image because they're creating a brand behind the image. Let's be real. We talked about the power of image and branding. That's power. That's power that you putting out these images saying that I have access to these things and I can do this, this, and this, and this is what I do. This is how I move. And now opportunities come to you because people have believed that image and believed that branding, and you're not prepared to deliver at all.
Nor can you.
Nor can you. You're not prepared, and you're not even equipped. That's the next portion. Having the equipment and also being prepared, because you can have the equipment and be caught off guard and not be prepared, and that's another thing. You might be able to reschedule or something like that. But if you don't have the equipment and you're not prepared, you shit in the water.
Well,
you up the creek like they say, and you ain't got no paddle, and it's a hole in the boat, and it's a hole in the boat.
Well, Arthur, let me say this. This would be my last thing, man. So I have this thing that I printed out. It's at my desk, It's the first thing I look at every morning when I walk into my office. The name of it is called, the end title is A Master. What is a master? A master in the art of living draws no sharp distinction between his or her works or his or her play, his or her labor or his or her leisure, his or her mind and body, his or her education, and his or her recreation. He or she hardly knows which is which. He or she simply pursues what he or she visions of excellence through whatever he or she is doing, and leaves it to others to determine if he or she is actually playing or at work, because to them it always seems to be the same. And that is what a master does. The art of working play becomes the same. And I would challenge all of our listeners to find a way to mesh their time, talents, and efforts, even from a career perspective, with their passions. It's some standpoint, so that at some point they become a master in the art of living, so that their work and play are no longer separated, but take steps daily to connect those things, that they're more closely associated and ultimately become one. Thank you for the time tonight, man. I really appreciate it.
Most definitely. Dr. Loving, any closing remarks?
No, man. I think we've said it all this evening, man. Just I hope that folks take heed, and just keep moving forward.
Most definitely, as usual, I thank you, gentlemen, for embarking on this journey. I'm in no situation or place to give a final toast because I have deemed that I've had enough. I need the dexterity and ambidextrousness of being able to change a diaper real quick. So,
oh my God.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you, gentlemen. As usual, thank you, listeners. And like Dr. Levin said, we challenge all of you all to share this. Define yourselves and make sure you really know who you got in your power circles and your strategic partnerships, because be intentional with it. And we do have a challenge out there. Follow us on our social media at Dr. Ajamu Loving, at 248MMBB, and at Empower Engage Execute, and on our web presence and our web domains, ajamuloving.com, destrianwellsconsulting.com, mmbbgw.com, and follow the BREADren Podcast on Instagram at BREADrenPod. That's BREADrenPod. And we thank you all, and as usual, we love you. Good night.
Good night.